Hey everybody, good morning. Today we get to tackle 2 Kings chapter 11, and we're just going on from yesterday. We see here King Ahaziah was killed by Jehu. We talked about that, I think, maybe 2 days ago. But here we see an account of what's going on in his kingdom. His mother, Athaliah, she decides that she's going to go ahead and kill all of his offspring, going to go ahead and kill anybody that may take the throne, because she goes ahead and takes the throne herself. But there is this one little son, one baby, called Joash, the son of Ahaziah, that a sister of Ahaziah, I'm reading in verse 2, stole him away from among the king's sons who were being murdered, and they hid him and his nurse in the bedroom from Athaliah. So he was not killed, so he was hidden with her in the house of the Lord for 6 years while Athaliah reigned over the land. Then you see, if you continue to read on in this chapter, you'll see how he was, at 7 years old, he was anointed king, and he took his throne at 7 years old. And you'll see how he was protected in the house of the Lord and all of that stuff. And of course, his mother ends up at the end of the chapter, Athaliah, she ends up, she gets killed. And so this man, he takes he takes his kingdom at 7 years old. And so, but as I'm reading through this, I'm reminded of one of the Psalms that just really it sort of hits home and sort of goes straight along with this, and it's a popular psalm, and this is Psalms 23. The Lord is the shepherd of his people. And you see how Joash he feared the Lord. Joash honored the Lord, and Joash, he eventually will go ahead and take down the temple of Baal, and he eventually will kill all of those prophets, and he will get rid of that. So we see how he's protected by the Lord here. But I want to just read over Psalms 23 real quick and just talk about it. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures." Now, picturing this is picturing us as the Lord is our shepherd. If we're lying down in green pastures, what does sheep normally do in green pastures? They eat. If we're lying down, that means that we're full. That means that we feel protected somehow. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul, leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And in verse 4, this one reminds me a little bit of the walk that Joash did going back into the temple at 7 years old. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil." This goes right along with what happened with Joash. "My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." See, the Lord knows who are his. And there is comfort in the presence of God. And there is protection in the presence of God. And there is provision in the presence of God. And if we're not getting into the presence of God, and you see that Joash was moved into, he was protected in the house of the Lord. He was pushed into the presence of the Lord, and he let that get all over him. And when he became king, he was able to do all the things that honored the Lord. And if we're not getting in the presence of the Lord, what are we getting into? If we're not allowing the Holy Spirit to grow from deep within us, to fill us inside. When we become saved, the Holy Spirit regenerates our spirit, and we become life. But that Holy Spirit wants to grow larger within us and come out, and it wants to penetrate our soul and help us in our mind, our will, and our emotions. And it wants to make a difference in this world from the inside out. But we have to make a conscious decision to get into the presence of God and feed that spirit within us to let that come out. I believe that Joash, as he spent these 7 years in the house of the Lord, that he had done that. And I don't have any biblical basis to back that up. I am only reading the biblical evidence of what he did as king and how he honored God. And For us, what are we doing? Are we getting in that presence of the Lord? Do we wake up in the morning, say a quick prayer, and then run to work? Or do we actually get into the presence of God and say, God, fill me this day. God, use me this day. So, please, let him fill you. You know, Romans 12:2 tells us that we are to daily renew our minds by the reading of the Word. That's getting the Spirit of God within us. I love you all. Have a super day.